Race Against Cancer, which I'm proudly sporting my mug today. Raise funds, stay right here in the community, and go towards such services as cancer screenings, treatment, research, and patient resources. With over $5.7 million has been raised in the race's 32 years. And Elijah was part of the rebranding effort in 2019 to shift from the Avera Race Against Breast Cancer to the Avera Race Against Cancer. And I have to tell you, it's spot on. I love it so much. Elijah and his team are preparing to shift again this year by hosting the first ever virtual Race Against Cancer, which is this Saturday. And I'm proud to say that I'm signed up for that. So looking forward to it. And before we move on to the next presenter, what I want to ask you first, Elijah, before we move into the panel discussion, is if you can quickly explain, maybe in 1 to 2 minutes, how the pandemic has affected your organization and how your team is looking to pivot during this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Brianne. Thank you, Peter, for letting me jump on and speak a little bit today. This is a lot of fun. It's kind of been a wild whirlwind experience for all of us at Avera, obviously. The hospital is doing everything we can to uplift and keep our community going and keep everybody safe and healthy. But at the Avera McKennan Foundation, we knew that when this kind of came to a head and that this was going to be a big shift for us, that we couldn't slow down and we couldn't stop. All of the services that we provide and all the funds that we provide help patients, help families, help as many people as we can in our hospital system. So knowing that we had the Avera Race Against Cancer coming up on May 9th, we knew toward the end of March that we needed to make some changes, we needed to make some adjustments. And so we decided on March 27th, we made the announcement that we're going to move virtual. It's been a whirlwind, like I said. It's been a very challenging but fun experience. Usually about this time, myself and all my colleagues would be huddled together at the Avera McKennan Fitness Center, setting up tents, getting everything ready to go, and seeing all these, this great camaraderie coming together for this event. But that's not the case this year. I'm hunkered down in my home at the fitness center about 2-3 times a week max. And so it's changed a lot. But luckily, we've seen a lot of community support, a lot of people coming together for this event. And we're going to break about 3,500 people tomorrow. So that's pretty incredible. That still, we've got thousands of people that want to support this event, that want to support Avera, and that want to support cancer patients. So like I said, it's been a challenge, but it's been a really, really fun challenge in the entire process.
Thank you for that. We'll expand upon that in a little bit. I'm going to move on to Addie, Graham-Kramer, who is the founder and CEO of the event company. After planning events and managing public relations for over a decade in the nonprofit sector and the corporate world, Addie launched the event company in October of 2013. Since launching the company 7 years ago, they have hosted events in 16 states across our country with more than 125,000 guests. They have hosted in 16 states across our country with more than I just repeated that. They have been a part of fundraisers that have garnered nearly $8 million for their charities and put out more than 75,000 chairs, lit more than 11,000 votives on guest tables, and eat more than 655 desserts. Yes, they all have a sweet tooth, and dessert test tasting is part of the perk of the job. Addie's team has been a part of some incredible fundraisers, including the South Dakota Cattlemen's Foundation, where they have raised over $1.38 million for feeding South Dakota. So welcome, Addie. If you want to unmute yourself, I have one quick question for you before we get into the panel discussion, and I'd just love for you to explain how the pandemic has affected your business and how you're looking to pivot during this time.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for having me on.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay? Good. So our business has drastically changed over these last couple of months. And what we have found is we are doing so much more digital, but also moving more into hybrid events where they will be not only digital and virtual, but also in person over these next couple of months. Some of those actually will be starting as soon as August 1. So really what we've had to do is transition, and just some of our team members were not as familiar on the live piece, even though we've hosted many live events in the past, just kind of switching and learning a little bit more. So for example, we are with Zoom at least twice a week with our Zoom team. We've got a dedicated team that's kind of a part of our team as well, but Zoom themselves has actually updated 7 different times and have had 7 different advancements just since Friday last week. So a lot of people don't know those things. So the tech is moving, and it's moving super fast. So we've just transitioned as much as we possibly can during this time, but we honestly don't have an event until August 1. So that's our first event. Everything else is really postponed over this time frame. But our keyword on our team over these last few months is reimagining, and what does that look like for events? We've been saying pivot a lot, but for us, it's really just reimagining what that looks like.
Thanks, Addie.
Yeah.
That's great. Last but not least, Bob Wendland, co-founder of Goodnight Theater Collective and assistant, I'm going to say this wrong because we changed the, he's also with the Washington Pavilion Performing Arts Center. Bob co-founded and served as the artistic director of Goodnight Theater Collective, which is a cabaret-style theater event company, and he's been there since 2016. He heads up the artistic vision for the company, selecting programming and working with the team to deliver guaranteed good nights season after season. This isn't his day job, however, as Bob has been working at the Washington Pavilion in some capacity for over 9 years. He currently serves as the manager of the performances and events team and the Dakota Academy of Performing Arts, and is the chair of the Pavilion's Culture Advisory Board. I don't know when he had time to get on this call today, but we appreciate you taking the time. He was also recently selected to join this year's Leadership Sioux Falls class, which is no surprise. I also have to make a plug that Zeal Center for Entrepreneurship has been home to Goodnight Theater's rehearsals for the past 6 months as one of our associate members, and we love having you guys out there. So Bob, if you could unmute yourself. Again, we would love to hear how the pandemic has affected both of your organizations and how you have looked to pivot during this time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's so fun to see so many familiar faces. What a great turnout. Yeah, so as Brianne mentioned, I manage the performances and the events teams at the Washington Pavilion. Right now, I'm also on our reopening task force at the Pavilion. The Pavilion has really sort of taken a somewhat backseat approach, I guess. In the pandemic, we haven't had a lot of programming that we've put out. A lot of our clients that we work with in events or rental performances have postponed or canceled their events altogether. And so as an organization, we've sort of taken a step back and used this time to get a lot of projects done that we haven't had time for in the past. So when the Pavilion reopens, which you'll be hearing about soon, but when we do reopen, I think when you come back, you'll notice that a lot of things, at least internally, have changed. So that's sort of the Pavilion approach, but today I'm probably going to be taking more of the Goodnight Theater angle because the Goodnight Theater is a small business. We are a startup, and I think that a lot of the information I can share from wearing that hat will hopefully deliver some interesting thoughts to people on the call today. We had our biggest show planned for last weekend. We were going to do Chicago, the musical, the full-length musical. And obviously we had to postpone that. We also have a cabaret coming up at the beginning of June that we haven't technically canceled yet. They started rehearsals via Zoom last night, actually. But that cast knows that there's a real possibility that that show will not happen, or at least will not happen in the environment or the capacity that we initially imagined that it would, or that it traditionally does. So yeah, we're definitely experiencing a lot of changes as a business. Our model has changed slightly, at least temporarily, and we've been looking at a lot of online options, and I'm sure I'll talk eventually about some of the online options that we've already launched. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Bob. So as we move forward here, again, as much as we possibly can, we're going to try to keep this conversation conversational and not just one person talking for 10 minutes if possible. But the first topic of discussion that we have is marketing and promotion, because it's really integral to the event business. And so I guess I'm curious how you guys have been marketing and promoting your virtual events. It's a strange time. There's probably a lot of concern and confusion and questions about what a virtual event looks like. How have you been refining your marketing message, and what platforms are you using to do so? And I've seen a lot from Avera lately, so I'm assuming there's a big old plan that you guys have rolled out. I've seen your stuff everywhere, but I don't know, just any comments there for people that are looking to pivot and market virtual events?
Yeah, I guess just speaking on behalf of Avera and our foundation, our event team, we're very lucky to have incredible partners, and that's kind of the biggest advice I'll give you is rely on a little help from your friends and utilize those services that you have and the services that we have in Sioux Falls. So I specifically want to point out our friends at Midco. When we transitioned to all this, we have the most incredible creative service team at Avera, from designers to videographers to photographers to anything you can imagine. But when all this happened, they obviously had to put all their focus on COVID and translating that message and putting that out. And so, we knew we did not want to bog them down. We didn't want to bother them. So I reached out to Midco and I said, do you guys have any chance, any time that you could create us just a virtual ad and something we could put out there for everyone to see that we can use on television and on social? And before I could even, think of other options, they responded immediately and said, yep, no problem. Tell us, send us what you want, send us some files, send us some logos, and we'll get it done. And within 2 days, I had a proof, and within 3 days, it was on the air. So that's just the biggest thing is rely on those that are willing to help and those that can make a big difference. We've also had incredible help from folks at ClickRain, from folks at Dakota News Now. Actually, tomorrow night at 6:30, Dakota News Now is going to run their 6:30 news hour is going to be completely devoted to the Avera race. And that's just the kind of incredible opportunities we have here. So in marketing and getting that word out, it's relying on the people around you, the organizations around you that know what they're doing a little more than we do and have a little more experience in this. And then it's obviously social media and it's digital. I've spent a lot of my time the last few weeks on Facebook, as if I don't do that already at work. So we spent a lot of time just getting that word out. We've made some videos inside the fitness center of our other co-director. We've shared all of our sponsors' stories. We've shared images of the swag that everybody gets, and that seems to be the most popular thing. And so just utilizing those mediums that you know about, those mediums that you're most comfortable with, and just getting that word out as best you can and utilizing people that know what they're doing. That's the biggest thing.
I have to make a comment too. I'm sure if you watch TV, it's like I'm seeing the same ad over and over and over again because everybody's trying to use this empathic tone. How do you cut through the noise, you guys? Like everything is called a virtual event now. Are we going to get sick of that? Like how do we cut through the noise and stand apart? Also, any thoughts there from any of the three of you?
Yeah, I can chime in on that. I think for us, going off a little bit of what Elijah was talking about too, I think from a small business perspective, it's really easy to just like jump on social media because it's far more affordable than, and we don't have necessarily the connections like Avera does with Midco or with Dakota News Now. Our sponsors are typically a lot smaller on the same level as we are. And so we've been trying to use more of a sort of uplifting, joyful, like comedic approach to a lot of and very colorful too, to a lot of our advertisement. We use Facebook and Instagram almost daily, I would say. We also have a marketing director who is a creative director for Epicosity, so that's helpful for us and very affordable for us as well. But we also have a email listserv that we build off of, and I think as a small business person, those touch points, those connections with your fans, with your brand ambassadors are invaluable. Like you can shout on Facebook all you want, but that's not going to convince someone to buy a ticket to your online cabaret. That's not going to convince someone to buy into your brand and into your mission. And so for us, we've been relying a lot on our listserv, on our emails. I'm sure Elijah's email listserv is exponentially larger than ours. But those people are the same people that will, buy our $5 cabaret tickets every time. And so for us, it's been relying on those people that have been with us since the beginning, because our retention numbers from day one have been great because those are the people that we invest in. And so for us, it's been maybe a little bit less about marketing, trying to like cast our net in this time of pandemic and trying to uplift our own people, uplift our collective members. We've done a few posts where we shared quotes that our performers have said about, performing with the Goodnight Theater Collective. And so it's just a little bit more about, spreading joy and, nodding to those people who have supported us from the beginning and, giving them free tickets to things and supporting them in that way. So
Everybody loves free tickets.
right.
Addie, is there anything else that you'd like to add? I know you guys have stuff up your sleeve. You're always up to something good.
Well, I mean, one of the big things that we've been so focused on now is the education piece, because not everybody realizes what it takes to host big virtual conferences or virtual events. It could be as easy as plugging in Zoom and go Vimeo to LinkedIn Stream to YouTube to private on Facebook. I mean, there's so many different platforms to be able to do or to use and be able to restream. But a lot of people in this part of the country don't understand what it all takes to do those type of events. So our team has been doing a lot of just offline educational seminars with individuals so they understand the complexities of what that looks like. So our team has been focusing a lot on that educational piece of things. And how we're standing out a little bit differently is we've got clients that are, we call them experiential boxes. So we've got an event here coming up here soon where we're packaging 700 boxes together and shipping items out to individuals prior to the event even happening. So they get the program, they get a little mix in for a cocktail hour. There's a lot of fun things that are going out to them. So we stand out outside of all the other events. We have been connecting with a lot of our event teams all over the country. And I will tell you, like, these type of events are here to stay. They are not going anywhere.
Thank you, Addie. Just another, I'm sorry to keep commenting on this, but your audio is a little choppy and I don't see you on video anymore. I don't know if anybody else cannot see Addie, but oh, there you are all of a sudden. So.
Sorry, guys.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure if there's something you can do to adjust it. Let's move on. The next question, and Addie, I'm really interested because you talked a lot about the different iterations of Zoom that are coming so fast and furious, but what platforms are folks using to host your virtual events, and why did you choose to use them? And I guess I would go back to Addie.
Yeah, the majority of our clients, because we were doing bigger conferences with hundreds of people, there's some that are smaller, even with 200 individuals, but we are utilizing Zoom more than anything. But they are in separate private rooms. We've got one event coming up here where there are up to 10 separate rooms with them. So it's just making sure that we can manage that capacity and what that looks like. But then Facebook, we're utilizing Facebook quite a bit as well, the onset of Zoom itself. So we're utilizing both of those platforms a lot. YouTube has great functionalities as well, and but we're finding more on the Zoom platform as well as through Facebook.
What are you doing anything with live streaming, Bob? Did you say what platform are you using?
Yeah, so a few weeks ago we did a cabaret online. We brought it online, and obviously entertainment is sort of in the shadows right now as an industry. I can speak from the Pavilion on that as well, but one of the trickiest things for us as a company has been copyright law, and none of us are lawyers. So for our first cabaret, putting that online and streaming that online, we use specifically original music. We do a lot of original musicals. Our marketing director also writes music, so we did a lot of his music in that cabaret. And so that cabaret, we actually had all 30 of our performers film, like on their cameras or their laptops or whatever, in their own homes, because it was right when the pandemic was kind of hitting. And we, wanted to ensure that we were doing everything right and social distancing and staying at home and whatnot. So we collected all of those videos, and our marketing director spliced them all together. He used a program called Filmora, which I'm sure a lot of people have heard of. It's super affordable. It's $40 a year. They have tons of templates built in. What I will say is that the templates are very obviously templates. So if you can get well enough adapted to that program, you can tweak little things and it makes it look really professional. So he was able to, splice different separate videos together, add little like flavor, here and there, some text, some overlay, all sorts of fun effects through that $40 a year program. So, and all we did was create a YouTube video in the end, and it was a private link. So we just shared the private link with people. That YouTube video is no longer on the internet. And next week, we're selling tickets to the recording of the very last show that we did before the pandemic, Alvin Fletcher's surprise 34th birthday party, which was a 5-person show at the Icon Lounge, 90-minute comedy. We recorded it because it was an original musical and we had the rights. And then we're going to sell we have been selling the $5 tickets to it. And ironically enough, we've actually sold more tickets to that than we did to our sold out shows at Icon for 4 nights. So there are a lot of things that are coming out of this that are things that we will probably continue to do as a company. And we've got a big surprise for July too that we're doing, like a little Christmas in July special that we're going to start putting together that really only 3 people know. So I guess now 60 some people know. But yeah, so we're using a lot of the very basic programs that are out there, YouTube, Facebook, like Addie was saying. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with Facebook. There's a reason that everybody's on it all day. It's a very advanced program. So yeah.
Awesome. Elijah, just curious, in the race world, what types, I know it was suggested that we use Map My Run this weekend so we could post about our where we go and if we're running or walking, but is there anything else you guys are using?
No, not necessarily. Kind of one of the fun things about this is, we're not logging or tracking times of runners. It allows you to kind of make it your own experience. What we will be doing is our biggest mantras in this whole concept has been keeping the energy alive. The energy of the Avera race is palpable, and it's a lot of fun, that race day and even leading up to. So trying to figure out ways to keep that energy moving and keep energy going. So we are going to be doing kind of the same thing. We're going to be utilizing Facebook this Saturday morning. Usually we'd have 6,000 people gathered together in one spot. We're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to ask that you jump on Facebook and jump on our live stream where, we'll be doing warm-ups. You'll hear Survivor songs. You'll hear from different people, and that'll all be on Facebook. So that was kind of an interesting thing to put together. Hopefully, like I said, we can still keep that energy by doing that live stream on Saturday morning. But beyond that, if you want to, we're asking people to utilize the hashtag Run This Town. So maybe that they can communicate with each other via social media, that they can pump each other up. They can post their mile times and people can try and, add a little competition that way. But for the most part, it's kind of fun to just be able to say it's your run, it's your walk, it's your event. Make with it what you will. It's kind of a different thing. It kind of takes it off of our hands. But again, it allows more creativity, more sort of an interpersonal feel for every participant.
I love delegation. I love where your head's at. Also heard about a new service. My husband actually is using it. He's one of the producers of the 605 magazine show. And then Bonnie Harari, who's with Think 3D, they've been using a stream service called StreamYard. And I don't know if anybody's familiar with it, but it's so cool. It's like Zoom times 10, where you can have like little captions and tickers running at the bottom of the screen. I really want to learn how to use it, but it's overwhelming. Like there's just so much stuff out there and you feel like you just can't keep up with the technology. And I don't know if anybody else on this call is feeling that way, but I've stuck with Zoom to this point because I feel like I know Zoom, but I know that there's a lot of other sources out there. Looks like Nathan Hofer just said he's been using it as well. It's awesome. But yeah, I know that there's more out there, and it's just great to hear what you guys are up to. That being said, and I guess Elijah, you already kind of started talking about this, but what techniques are you using to create an engaging experience? beyond the technology. And Elijah, again, I really liked what you said. You know, you're putting it in the hands of the people. But
Yeah.
Elaborate.
Yeah, that's kind of, and that again, that's like I said, that was a tough thing to kind of convince ourselves to do, because we don't like delegating. We like knowing that this is our baby, this is our event, this is lots of fun that we get to have. But it's fun again to kind of make it your own and hand it off to your participants and say, you know, when you want to walk, when you want to run. We actually heard there's a decent chance of snow this Saturday morning, so most people probably won't want to walk or run on Saturday morning. So you can do it before, you can do it after. It's all up to you. And then, of course, it also makes it safer and more comfortable. You know, if you want to walk with your family, you want to run with your family, you can do so. If you have a running group that you want to socially distance, run with that group, you have the option to do so. But, you know, we're not going to tell you have to run with our mass amounts of people. You have to walk with our group. It's all up to you. And it allows for more creativity in that way too.
I think it's also a matter of storytelling. And I know, like, Bob, your group does such a great job of telling the story and bringing people in and making them feel like they're a part of the collective, if you will. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that, your messaging, your communication, and how that plays a role in an engaging experience online.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think entertainment is innately engaging, right? I mean, if it's not engaging, it's not entertaining. And from the beginning, when we founded Goodnight, we said that we will continue to do what we're doing until we are no longer building community. And so for us, that's been a really driving force for everything that we do, even before the pandemic. But right now, I would say that we are, like I mentioned earlier, we are really using this time to lift up our supporters and our performers. Our 30 performers are the best assets that we have, quite frankly. I mean, without them, we don't have a company. So they have really been our boots on the ground, even without asking. I mean, sharing things on social media, promoting our events, but also just, I mean, word of mouth is huge for a company like us. So yeah, I think as far as engaging, it's been, we've also collaborated or connected, I guess, with the other 4 theater companies in Sioux Falls, the Community Theater, Bear Bodkins, Monstrous Little Theater Company, and Broadcast. And the 5 of us designed a little magnet. It's a tiny little magnet. It's, you know, business card size. And you can buy them on our website at goodnighttheater.com. And it's a sort of a choose your own price. However much you want to spend on this magnet, we send it to you, we write you a little thank you note, and that money gets split between all 5 of the companies, because all 5 of us have been impacted in some way with canceled or postponed performances. And so it's just been a way for us to continue to build that community that we set out to do 5 years ago.
That is so awesome and so smart, and you speak my language. Collaboration is huge. I don't look at, you know, the other people in our ecosystem as competitors as I do collaborators, and it's so wonderful to hear you say that. It's kind of the resounding message of our city right now. We're all talking about one Sioux Falls, so good for you. Speaking of building personal brands, I think Addie Graham-Kramer probably does it best. I feel like when I see a post from her, it's like seeing a post from a friend. You know, like you really do a great job of engaging your people, if you will. So can you talk about that a little bit and just, how you're staying engaged with your people?
Yeah, so we have been very deliberate in all of our external communications. We actually have a whole COVID communication plan. And if anyone has followed us on Facebook, if you haven't, now's a quick little plug, but they're all Black images with very short words. I think this week it was give yourself grace or give grace. So we've been very deliberate in that communication strategy and communication plan. So we understand that we're all here and we're here to help, whatever way that looks. Like I had mentioned before, like we have been doing a lot of consulting with organizations to move to that virtual world, but they have no clue what it's like, right? So we wanted to make sure that we were forthcoming in that branding piece of it, so people understood what it looks like and how we're kind of navigating these waters together. So, I mean, it is the collaboration. I love what you're saying, Bob, in terms of like magnets or whatever that looks like, but it's everybody kind of coming together. So we're working with a lot of our groups we just had a call earlier with a friends out in LA who are hosting events, but a lot of those events have shut down as well and will be shut down until 2021. So we're kind of utilizing kind of expertise in other markets as well to be able to integrate them into what we're doing here. So it's just utilizing resources. And to be honest, I think a lot of us as entrepreneurs don't like to ask for help. We're like, oh, we'll just do it ourselves, right? We're gonna do it, we'll figure it out. Well, now's the time to ask for help. And to be honest, we have done a really good job of asking others to help us along in that path. But it's been,
well, I was going to say, Addie, that's a great segue. Zeal Center for Entrepreneurship is here to help you. If you need any help, connections, we got it. Well, thank you for that. We're about halfway through the presentation, you guys, and I just wanted to let you all know if you have a question or a comment, or you just want to say something, use the raise hand function or use the chat function, and we're happy to engage you all in the conversation as well. But we'll just keep moving until we hear otherwise. The next question I have, and we talked about this a little bit at the beginning, I think, Elijah, you were talking about leaning on your partners and your sponsors, but how are you guys engaging your sponsors now that you've had to pivot? Are they disappointed? Are they happy? Have you had to rebrand everything and put new one sheets together? Like, what's going on in sponsorship? Addie's not over there.
Yeah, I mean, we have all of the above. So we've rebranded, we've relogoed, we've done different things. There have been a lot of different changes in that respect, but also how we're engaging the sponsors day of. So I'll give an example. We've got an event coming up here. It's all virtual in the middle of June, June 26th, I think it is. So what we're doing with that particular sponsor is with the mixologist that we're having during the social hour, we actually are going to have one of our key sponsors, the presenting sponsor, actually muddle parts of the drink together as well. So we're getting them engaged, whereas they would have just got up and welcomed guests from the stage, right? So we're doing those things, but also some of our sponsors are also handwriting cards into those boxes that I had mentioned earlier. So it's not just giving different random pieces of swag out, but it's how we're engaging on a whole different level. People love getting things from home. And I think that's a little bit of a challenge for some of our groups because we've got business addresses where they may not be right now. So trying to find those home addresses has been a little bit of recon work. But when you get that box at home and you open it up and there's this message in there, there is all these other pieces that kind of go in with the event itself. That is how some of our sponsors are connecting in that way. But honestly, we're having just open and honest conversations with our clients and their partners to say, like, what can we do? How do we want to do it? And some of those sponsors we've got one in particular that doubled their commitment for their event. So you just have to think outside of the box, and instead of focusing on the things you cannot do, what can you do? And that's the big thing. I mean, there's so many can'ts right now, like you can't do this and you can't do this and all these different people, but what can you do? And if you're having honest conversations with your sponsors, they're there to help. They wouldn't have sponsored the event or not been a part of your mission if they didn't fully believe in what you're doing. So if you're honest with them as well and ask them how they want to be engaged, I think that's the key piece.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Someone who has worked with Addie on sponsorships. Or stuff. Just saying.
Thank you.
Elijah, Bob, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think Addie, I think you just about nailed it. This is, I wear two hats in this role. One is event coordinator and one is fundraiser. I mean, we are a foundation, and I deal a lot in talking with our sponsors and dealing with our donors. And the biggest thing you have to do right now when working with those who are donating to your organization, those who are sponsoring your organization, is you can't leave them behind. I've been reading a lot on things about like the 2008 financial crisis. A lot of fundraisers and a lot of foundations said this is not the time, back away, don't do it, and that cost them in the end. Your sponsors want to hear from you. They want to know how you're doing. Like Addie said, if you have a mission and you have a drive, they're there for a reason, and they're a part of your organization for a reason. And this event itself, the Avera race, has anywhere between on a different year between 20 to 35 sponsors, and those dollars are vital to not only getting the event up and running, but also supporting our patients and supporting our families. And so all of our sponsors have been incredibly open about this idea. When we approached them and told them this is the direction we were going, no one said bad idea, you're doing it wrong. They all said that's absolutely right, and we're right behind you. We're following in your path. And I mean, even last night, we did a cruise for a cause with a bunch of Ford Mustangs, and Sioux Falls Ford is our title sponsor. And so just saying to them, we're promoting you while promoting ourselves, and doing what we can to embrace our community, embrace our sponsors. It's tough. Like I said, everything is a challenge right now, but you got to make it a fun challenge. You got to enjoy it. You got to enjoy the ride, and you got to bring your sponsors and your donors and your partners along with you.
Enjoy the ride. Good one.
Too, like if you're honest with them, Elijah, like similar to what you're saying of, like we had one group that simply said, like, we may not be around next year if we lose the sponsorship dollars. And they were very forthcoming with that partner. And that's where that doubling down actually came from. So I think you just have to be so honest with them, whether they're a $500 sponsor or a $500,000 partner, everybody matters. And if you are honest with your sponsors and your partners at this point in time, they will be honest back with you. But if you're sugarcoating things and saying, oh, everything's just fine, like we're fine, the event's fine, everything's okay, they're going to see through that piece. And then what happens when you are not here next year? So
exactly. And so many of these people like us, we're looking for somebody to talk to. We're looking for somebody to communicate with. And if you have those sponsors and those people that mean a lot to your organization, those are who you should be talking to.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, we're an LLC actually, and so we don't solicit donations in the same way that something like Avera certainly would. But for our sponsors, we've actually been seeing that our partners and our sponsors, we put them on our website, and before that was more of just like here's a perk that we can give you. But now, because we have so much traffic going to our website, their logo is being seen all of the time, every day, constantly, nonstop, and so I think that's been sort of an added bonus, I guess, for some of them, because our partner packages are $250 to $1,000 for an entire season, right? So we're not talking about $500,000 sponsors like you had mentioned, Addie, but those people now are sort of reaping the benefits of having their logos big and bold on our website and people being directed exactly there every day. So
yeah,
awesome. We have a couple questions, so let's do a couple questions here. Sadie Swear asks, first she said, this is fantastic information, thank you to the panelists, but she says, do you believe that for summer 2020 events, we should consider a hybrid of in-person and digital events? Take the temperature. What do you guys think?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. We are already talking about what that would look like for our entire season next year. If, when this first started, the magic number was 250, no more than 250 people at an event. That really infringes on some of what we do. And so we've been talking about, what do our season pass holders get to experience the event live, but then we stream it online. But then again, how do we get the copyright to sort of ease up? And we have had conversations with people in LA and New York who, own those copyrights for different musicians, different songs, different shows. And we are seeing a little bit of a, I guess, release of the reins slightly. A lot of the rights organizations for, musical theater are realizing that if they go by the same rules that they always have, they aren't going to have any business either. No one can buy the rights to Chicago or to, any musical if you can't perform it for an audience. So yeah, I don't know that this will last forever, but I think it's definitely going to last longer than this pandemic does.
Yeah, I would say to you, Sadie, I would have a good plan in place through that beginning of August timeframe, at least, just to see what that looks like. The majority that we have seen from our client base really is into that August timeframe for in-person anyway. They're going virtual obviously between now and then, but similar to like what Bob's saying, it's not going to last forever. It's just what does it look like, now, and this is kind of the new piece of it. But also we've got some events that are in that middle of August, September, October timeframe, even some of our October, that are already planning to do hybrid events. They already are doing, that's the path that we're taking already. Because even though things may be lifted, restrictions are fine, you can seat 6 to a table now instead of 10, whatever that happens to look like, there are people inherently that are not going to want to travel or to be there just for their own purpose. So instead of excluding them, figuring out how you can make it happen and doing it as cost effective as you can, because the misnomer out there is that virtual events are less costly than in person, and that is not true at all, people. It is not true. There are ways to do it differently. Yes, you don't have a food budget. You may not have lunch budgets, all those other pieces, but that now is dedicated to tech and to tech teams. So we've got an event that I'd mentioned that we're doing at the end of July, beginning of August, where we've got a whole tech room. We actually have a big venue where we've got 11 computers and then one backup as well. So it looks like a straight production kind of headquarters. So it's pretty kind of cool. It's daunting if you have no clue what you're doing, but it's so cool. So instead of having a big stage, we've now got computers. So it's just a little bit different, but I would make sure that you're planning anything beyond that August timeframe. Now, don't hold me to it, Sadie Swear. I know you won't, but anything past that August timeframe, I would look towards at least going in person.
Yeah, it's something we've been noodling on at Zeal Center for sure. We've got meeting space in our facility, and when are we able to open that back up fully? I don't know. And my biggest concern as a PR person is the perception. I don't want anyone thinking that we're not being sensitive about this, and I don't want to put anyone into a situation where they feel uncomfortable or they think we don't care. So that's going to be really important moving forward. And I hate to pivot for a minute, but I know Valerie Wilson's on the call, and she's with the Sioux Falls Area Chamber, Greater Sioux Falls Chamber of Commerce. And I know she's in the same boat I am. I'm just curious if you guys are running into the same issues in your boardroom, and what are you guys doing?
Hey guys, yeah, thank you so much for allowing me to speak for a little bit. You know, we're pivoting as well. We're using GoToMeeting right now. So we have been using that for any meetings that we're having, like our board meetings, committee meetings, and then also we've been doing a lot of webinars lately. I know actually a lot of you guys have been on our webinars, and so we've been able to get out a lot of content to you guys with that information. We just started working on Zoom as well. We're planning on actually doing a membership mixer, a virtual one on Tuesday. Super excited about it because we get to, we're going to be utilizing the breakout sessions on Zoom. So what we're planning on doing is just splitting everybody up into content that is anywhere from basically 6 to 12 people into a room, so you can actually have some decent conversation, networking. You know, you might actually get to hang out with somebody that you've never met before, and by chance you may have never met even at a regular mixer because you just didn't end up being in that side of the room or whatnot. So we're excited about that. So basically breaking out into breakout rooms, 20 minutes here, introducing yourself and answering a question, and then going into another breakout session and doing the same thing. So that's basically how we're pivoting. We have talked about our annual meeting. As you guys know, we basically get, I think last year we had 1,750 people in it. So we kind of talked about doing a hybrid on that too. It's definitely something that we're going to have to put a lot of virtual stuff with, and you know, we have everything up in the air and trying to figure stuff out. So we're doing as good as we can, and thanks for allowing me on.
Yeah, you just got me thinking that we've got a Hey Sioux Falls planning meeting next week. So
yes,
yeah, we do.
With our entrepreneurial awards event in November, which is a while. Maybe we might still be able to make that work. So I look forward to that conversation. We have a lot of questions here, so I'm going to keep rolling through them here. Michelle Kane, any insight into moving vendor booths to a virtual event so that attendees can still visit them and purchase product or digitally sign up for door prizes? Good question. Vendor
Yeah,
booths.
Michelle, there are platforms that you can do virtual booths. There's separate platforms and programs, and you can certainly ping me offline and I can certainly kind of share through some what those look like. But yes, you can be even as basic as doing like a separate Zoom room for each one of them if you wanted to. But there's all platforms that are built just for virtual trade shows. And I just read a stat just the other day, I think stats right now in terms of virtual, this came from, I think, Event Marketer, but I think they're up 42% for communication between sponsor booths and their attendees, because you can have one-on-one conversations for a quick 10 minutes and then you're off, and then another 10 minutes and then you're off. So the engagement has actually gone up. So events are now looking at increasing what those fees are to be a participant in a virtual booth, because they now have those stats where they can say, like, you might have 15 people come up to your booth and only one maybe a qualified lead or whatever it happens to look like, or there's not the engagement piece of it. But now you have true stats that you can track to see who's on, who's not, how long they're on, and how long they're off. So yeah, there's a lot of really awesome ways to be able to do that. The insights when you go into virtual events are phenomenal. I love nerding out on some of those things to see who's there, who's not, how long they're on there, and how long they're not. So there's a lot of cool benefits to going virtual too.
That's a really good point, Addie. There's a lot of good feedback. Speaking of feedback, we're sharing our poll results with you all right now. So good timing, Peter. Jen Hazing asks, and I think we already kind of talked about this a little bit, but are there any other insights any of you have as to the future? What can we be doing or thinking about as we prepare for longer term changes and challenges in the year ahead and maybe the year after that? Like anything else to add to that conversation? Any of you?
Yeah, I think for us, we're trying to look at it as an opportunity, right? I mean, we've had to think creatively. We've had to be more innovative than we tend to be. And I think sometimes as artists, we get sort of pigeonholed into, well, this is what we do. This is what we've always done. We do cabaret theater. We do it for 200 to 300 people in the audience. Like that's our brand. That's who we are. And so this has made us sort of step outside of our box and stretch beyond our quote unquote boundaries that we are now realizing weren't our boundaries to begin with. Our audience reach is phenomenal. I mean, our first online cabaret, we had people from 32 different states who bought tickets for that. Typically, we have people from Sioux Falls and maybe Brandon who buy tickets to our shows. So, I mean, our reach has all of a sudden opened up to, be limitless, really. And so certainly, hopefully, there will be a time when we move back to how things were before. But I think we'll always hold on to some form of like digital branch because it's been working for us. It's been working for our brand. It's been working for our budget at a time when we thought, oh boy, our budget's going to look really different now. It's not. It's maintained. So it's about thinking outside the box, I think, and finding what works for you and realizing that it can continue to work for you even after everything goes back to normal.
Mm-hmm. I have to read this comment because it's funny. Brittany says, I think virtual is the new gluten-free or vegetarian. All events going forward should have a virtual event or element, just like you always have a gluten-free option. And according to our survey results, 85% of you said you prefer a healthy mix of both. So I think that's really interesting. And I think we're going to see some real changes moving forward. Let's see what else we have for questions down here. Yeah, and someone else said, yeah, thank you, Michelle, for agreeing with me. I don't see any other questions, but I do have a couple others here. I guess, I mean, that is a question, you guys. Like, do you think we'll see virtual events stick around post-COVID? Because I think I don't know what post-COVID means. I think post-COVID means like 2 years from now, 3 years from now, who knows? Mm-hmm. But I would tend to believe that we will see a new trend depending on the industry, maybe. I don't know, like, I guess, Bob, for you, I think that would be more, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, live entertainment is very different from filmed entertainment, obviously, and we hope that we can continue to, or someday move back to that being our bread and butter. But for now, we're finding, like I said, we're finding new avenues to keep first and foremost, to keep our performers performing. That's what we do. We give opportunities for really extremely talented people who are your neighbors, truly, or your, office mates to shine. And if we have to do that online for a little while, we'll do that online for a little while.
Yeah. Yeah, I think virtual events, I think whether it is the hybrid piece or not, will definitely be around. I mean, our venues in Sioux Falls, I will tell you, we've had really awesome conversations with almost all of them. Their plans that are in place now are phenomenal in terms of buffets and what that's going to look like, in terms of sanitation, in terms of even housekeeping of hotels. They are doing such a phenomenal job. I will tell you, it's not like that across the country either. I think we've got a really special community that has really embraced it, because we know that live and in-person events will always be there. 84% of leaders love and feel that in-person and live events are a huge part of their revenue stream, 84%. So I don't think it's going to go away in terms of the in-person and live events, but that hybrid will definitely be a piece of it. Just think about Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just have to believe that there's going to be more training needed.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
there's
yeah.
going to be more people that are going to need a little Zoom 101. So who's going to teach the class, you guys?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
let's do this.
I mean, that's why I was saying, like, our team has been working about 15 hours a day since March 13th, like nonstop, because we're doing so much training and education with people. It's not as easy as turning on the Zoom like we're doing now. When you have real sponsorship dollars on the line and branding of your own company as well, you want to make sure that it's done to the best it could be. But I think we all are in this path now of how easy it is to jump on a quick call and have a video like this versus sending 17 emails back and forth to have a meeting about a meeting. I mean, we're all shaking our heads, right? So I think Zoom will totally be, or this virtual piece will always stick around. And we may find out that we are more productive doing it this way, right? So meetings I think will change drastically, but I do feel like that, and not because I'm just in the business, but I think that in-person events will never be replaced by that part of it. There's something about connecting with the person next to you and seeing body language. I mean, when you're doing webinars, you can't see that body language. You just don't feel that connection to that person.
Right.
So I don't feel like that will ever go away.
That being said, Sadie asked another really good question. Are there any examples of monetizing virtual events? Elijah, you guys are obviously, you're selling, you're fundraising. Have you been selling, and what's your advice on monetization beyond sponsorships?
I think that really goes back to, and Addie said it earlier, it's mission. It's the most important thing is what is your event for? What's the reason for this event? I look at Bob's putting on art, and art is vital right now, and creating art in these sort of dark times and bringing some light is a massive necessity. So what is it you're selling, and why is it important in this digital virtual age? We're selling support. We're selling, most people think we're selling t-shirts and backpacks, but we're selling support for the Avera Cancer Institute. Where if you buy in and you join in on this event, you're making an impact, you're making a difference. And if you attend a Goodnight Theater Collective virtual show, you're benefiting yourself while also benefiting the arts culture. And so I think that, selling something and profiting off these is less dependent on how you do it, but what you're doing and what you're contributing back to your customers or your visitors or your participants or whatever that might be.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Elijah, aren't you a part of the Goodnight Theater Collective?
Oh, I pretend to
The
be.
performers.
I guess am I Bob? If I'm a past
Elijah
participant?
was in our Christmas cabaret 2 years ago now.
Ooh.
1 year, 2 years, yeah.
Year and a half.
So,
yeah.
And everybody loves the Christmas cabaret. So
I'm
yes.
feeling left out, you guys. I'm feeling
There's still
Auditions will be
time,
sometime
Addie.
in July.
back to the sponsor piece.
Go ahead.
I will say that self-care we're seeing now at virtual events, in self-care and self-wellness are more vital now at virtual events than they have ever been. And we've had events, like we did one in Chicago in September where we did group runs and group basketball and all those things. Well, now even some of these virtual events, we've got one in July that we are doing virtual yoga, we're doing a smoothie bar, like we're doing all these different things to be able to focus on that self-wellness. So we're seeing healthcare being able to buy into those pieces. We're seeing local entrepreneurs that running health and fitness organizations that are buying into those sponsorships. So that smoothie bar could be sponsored by that person, or your social hour could be sponsored by XYZ. We're sponsoring breaks. So there's a lot of different parts of those events where the sponsorship piece is truly up in the air. I mean, there's so many different things that you can do surrounding the virtual aspect of it, and integrating in videos and pre-recorded pieces ahead of time. I mean, there's truly a lot of opportunities with that. So much more that there actually is in even in-person pieces.
You guys, I want to pour another drink and talk for another hour. This has been awesome. It is.
Wait, no one told me that we could be drinking. So were we supposed to be drinking during
I'm sorry. Yes. It can be anything.
I didn't realize that.
Stay hydrated. Well, thank you all. Thank you to Addie. Thank you to Elijah and Bob. Elijah, good luck this weekend with your big events. And Addie and Bob, good luck to you and what you're doing in the future. I did see a disappointing number of you were not members of the Washington Pavilion, have not attended a Goodnight Theater Collective performance, and did not sign up for the virtual race this weekend. So if you still would like to, Elijah, I'm sure you can still sign up for that event this week.
You bet. Yeah, what did I see? 88% of people on this call hadn't signed up. I'm so disappointed. So
Thumbs down.
AveraRaceSiouxFalls.org, $35 registration fee. Easy.
Very
Easy.
very angry way of saying that. I love it. So before we go, we have to give away these gift cards. So I don't know if Maureen wants to pop on and tell us who our big winners are.
Sure thing. Just a second here. So the first gift card is going out. This will be for Sonny's Pizza, and it's good for 3 pizzas, which is a value of $45. And let me just double check that my winner is actually still on with us. So 1 second here. Megan Bolton, you are the winner of the Sonny's gift card. If you could unmute yourself for a moment and let me know that you are aware that you're the winner. And I am going to need your mailing address, your physical mailing address, so that I can get that to you. Megan Bolton, have you heard me? Uh-oh, this has never happened before.
She's still on?
I think she's still
yeah. She is on.
Does anybody know to send a private message too? That's fine.
Peter, can you shoot Megan a message while I move on to the next one?
Yeah.
Okay. So the let me write down Megan here.
God, you're stretching this out. You're making us all sweat.
Well, you know. All right. So the next winner is Maren Engel, and this is for the Juniper Apothecary, $50.
Oh my gosh, I'm here and I never win anything, and this is
Yay! You are quick to
very excited.
announce. So I just need your email address. If you could put that in the chat, please.
It should also be known that Maren Engel is a goodnight theater performer and has one of the most lovely voices in all of Sioux Falls.
Oh, yay!
Yes, thank you.
And the final winner, and this is for the Fernson $60 gift card, is Jason Lemke. Jason Lemke, can you let me know that you have heard?
Oh, he's excited.
Yes, I am here.
Awesome. And I'm going to need your actual mailing address, please. Not email, but like physical mailing address, please. Can you put that in the chat?
Certainly.
Awesome.
And have we heard from Megan?
Oh.
We have not.
Not responding. Uh-oh. Okay. So I guess we'll draw a new winner. We have to, actually give the things away. So, new winner. Dun, dun, dun. Make sure it's on. Oh, that person's not on.
It's dinner time. Can use that pizza right now.
Everyone's leaving.
I know. Don't leave yet.
Oh my gosh, nobody's on anymore, I tell you what. I've got a new winner. And this is the Sonny's Pizza, Roseanne Hoffland. Do you hear me, Roseanne Hoffland?
Woohoo! I hear you.
I'm gonna need a physical mailing address, please, to get you that Sonny's Pizza.
Send it to the Levitt.
Can do, we'll eat it.
All right, I've got Jason's mailing address, so all I need now is Roseanne. So thanks, guys.
Cool. Thank you. Just last, I wanted to thank our sponsors, since we've been talking about sponsors. First National Bank Wealth Management, First Premier Bank, Boyce Law Firm, MSH Architects, Susan CPA, Ide Bailey LLP, and Nelson Commercial Real Estate. Stay in touch with us, you guys. This was so much fun. We want to do it again. You can stay connected with us on Facebook in the Startup Sioux Falls group or on our public page at Startup Sioux Falls Zeal Center for Entrepreneurship. Sign up for our emails at startupsiouxfalls.com. Join us for 1 million cups every Wednesday at 9 a.m. We're doing that virtually until, I don't know when. We'll see. But Wednesday at 9 a.m. Our emails will keep you up to date. And last but not least, thanks again to our speakers today. And special shout out to Peter Hauk, because this was his idea. So thank you, Peter. You rock. I'm so glad that you're on the team. Thank you. Thank you so much. And
You're gonna make me
be well,
blush.
everybody.
Peter is awesome.
I'm sorry.
Love Peter.
He's awesome. Have a great day, evening, whatever it is. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.